Hello everybody, I'm Stephanie Johnson and I'm going to be kind of Vanna Whiting you around the Roadshow trailer to kind of give you some talking points for products when you have your customers in front of them. And just thought that I'd start kind of at the back here by the daylight screens because we have a drawer here that I think is kind of important before we talk about other things, that is going to have some kind of accoutrement, things like remotes and keys in order to get into things. So if you find that like a middle Atlantic piece is locked, for example, the keys for it are probably in here to get you in there so that you can show everybody the important stuff inside of it. Okay, so now that we've shown this, let's go talk about some product. So we're going to start with our Chief Impact Kiosk. We've got the floor version. Obviously there's the wall impact kiosks as well. This is the 43-inch model. It comes from between 40 to 55. White, we also have it in black. And we have it with a freestanding accessory here. It is also obviously available originally so that you can just bolt it to the floor. It does come single-sided or double-sided, so you can have a screen on either side here, but this is just the single-sided version. Now again, we showed you the keys first because this may in fact be locked when you get to it, but in order to open it and show the important stuff on the inside, you want to make sure it's unlocked. And then you can see how the screen mounts. One of the things that is really nice about this Impact series is that it is not like one flavor of monitor specific. A lot of other solutions were things that needed to be custom ordered for the kind of screen model that you were getting. And this is much more agnostic as long as the thickness of the monitor fits in. I think it's about 3.5 inches. And then down here below, we've got a part that lifts up, and then there is also some storage. There's some spots for some fan knockouts and things like that. But these are really quite nice and very sturdy and very customizable, and again, very flexible for what kind of screen you've got. So, all right, next we have our Chief tablet stand. This is the floor model. It does also come in like a table mount, much shorter column. It supports mounting tablets or VESA mount screens. The tablet's column mount. There are some small weight restrictions on that. The column mount supports 10 pounds, and a VESA mount, there's a 75 by 75 and up to 100 by 100. That would support a 15-pound monitor. It does have some incorporated cable storage inside the column, and then the part that mounts the screen itself is tiltable. All right, on this table island here, we have a couple of products to go through. Let's keep on the Chief road. So for Chief, we've got our concise mounting arms. These are kind of a lower cost answer to the Contour series. We're showing off a dual armed design. It does also come in a single arm design. They are really easy to install, like super easy. You just basically like tighten or untighten this part and clamp it to the desk, and then these, when you are installing them, they just go down and lock in and they're installed. So very simple to install. But you know, as a counterpoint to that, as compared to like the Contour series, there are less options. You have a single or a dual arm design on the concise mount. And then they do also mount a different range of weights of monitor. They can't get quite as heavy of a monitor mounted. There is still some cabling channels to, you know, tie up your cabling, but they are much more simplified. So that would be the concise arm. We do also have, with our C2G, we have like a 6-in-1 dock. It's velcroed to the table, but you can take it out and show it off. These are very popular for obviously cleaning up your cabling, especially to a laptop. I've used this a couple of times. They are really neat. We also have from Wire Mold, we have some mod power here. You can see there's a couple of different mounting options that we're showing off here. It's in a couple of different colors. We've got white here, and they are spill proof, spill resistant I feel like is probably the correct one. And UL listed, which is nice, and they are daisy chainable, which is the other really cool thing. So you are able to daisy chain them all together and, you know, put them all in a similar area, or yeah, mod power. And then second to last, not lastly, over here we've got the retracting converters, the HDMI converter cables here. I do believe that we are going to be incentivized to make a lot of sales of these. So this should be a piece that you should look at very closely to make sure that you are familiarize yourself with all the conversions that it is. And then this is also something that a company can brand if they would like their own unique branding on it for their space. And then lastly, let's go back in. There we go. We do also have a Qi charging station, which works with obviously phones that are compatible with that kind of charging, which this is not, but pretend that it is, and then that would work. On the other end of this island table here, we have a Mid-Atlantic Slim 5 series rack with a bunch of rack mounting and cable management accessories. But you know, the main focus of this is all of our lovely Luxel switches. On the top of the rack here, we have our front-facing ports versions, our XMS series, and obviously the various different numbers, so 60 and 26. And then down here we've got the AMS series, although also the SW 610, where the ports are in the back for, you know, applications where you do want them in the back, kind of more AV applications. These are more networking applications, but pretty much all the switches offer a ports in the front or a ports in the back version. Obviously we have PoE in these switches here, PoE capable, and I'm sure a lot of our salespeople are familiar with, you know, how compatible these are with like the Vadio cameras and especially the EasyIP line. Obviously, it's not proprietary to the EasyIP line. You don't have to have a Luxel switch, but they work so well together that it's a really lovely kind of just add-on to add when you sell a Vadio camera. Aside from the full rack managed switches here, tiny unmanaged switch options, I love to add these in to configurations, either just to, you know, add some network ports farther away and, you know, tie them to the managed switch itself, or, you know, if you just need PoE or to network one or two things together, you know, and you maybe don't need a full managed switch. We've got the SW100-04, that's a 4-port. It does also come in an 08 option with 8 ports. And a PoE Plus budget. And then we do also have the SW100-05PD. This one is really cool. It itself is powered by PoE, so you don't need to worry about getting a power supply or wall wart anywhere where this piece is. So it takes PoE Plus in to power it, and then it does provide one PoE port out. There are other, it's 4 ports, but one of those can be PoE. So it is powered by PoE Plus and then can in turn use PoE power to power something else. And the other thing that's really cool about it is that it is magnetic, and so it is very easy to mount, you know, under a table, in the side of a rack, that kind of a thing. Really nice, and it's very strongly mounted. Once it's in there, it's in there. So we do also show off our Luxel Epic Mesh option here. This is really cool for a larger Wi-Fi system. You can either add this to add wired network somewhere, so you know this piece would be talking to another piece to bring Wi-Fi connectivity between them, but then you can, out of this, put a wired network connection to something that would require a wired network connection. Our Epic Mesh is a really nice system. So to kind of get a little bit more synergistically in a place. And then in addition to all these lovely things, we do also have two of these little tablet stands. One's on the other end of the table there, but one of them will be set up to kind of get you into the Luxel Easy Router setup, to kind of show how you can walk a customer through just kind of how easy it is to use that application. Obviously, you know, that's a thing that they can get for their smartphone for when they're setting up on site, or a tablet or something like that. And then on the other one, we're going to be showing off the Luxel Pro Watch system, where you can, you know, remotely manage all of your networked Luxel gear and things attached to it and cool stuff like that. So at your Roadshow, there are going to be two cameras on tripods, obviously pointed at, you know, out at subjects of interest for wherever you are parked. So they're the Easy IP cameras. We're going to have both models. We've got one hooked up right now. So this is the Easy IP 20, and you will also have an Easy IP 10. The difference between them being their factors of zoom, and the fact that the Easy IP 20 has a simultaneous HDMI output off of the back, as well as some of the motors. But if you need to tell the difference between the two visually, as you can see, the Easy IP 20 has this more rounded base, and the Easy IP 10 has it in kind of like steps. So it's also slightly wider, and just a little bit shorter, although that's harder to tell when they're farther apart. So that's how you visually tell the cameras apart. And then off the back, you're gonna have your Easy IP connection, and then on this one, an HDMI, and it's gonna be a single cable back to the forum area where all the equipment is going to be, and we're going to go show you that. All right, back over in this corner, we have kind of the rest of the Easy IP accoutrement. We've got the, we have a Middle Atlantic Forum display stand showing live output of the cameras, or the Easy IP system. Like I said, we only have one camera hooked up at this time, but you know, any you know, transitions or anything that you're doing with the system would be shown live on this display. The forum display stand does show off this lovely acoustical fabric that is coordinated with our On Point brand. So, you know, if they're using On Point acoustical fabric, you know, this would match that exact same color scheme. You can coordinate like a fancy room. Over here, we kind of have some dummy props so that you can show the, you know, back of the product, talk about the actual features of it here. We've got an Easy IP mixer, which is the thing that is running live within our forum display stand. And then we have a Vadio device controller here that is hooked up to the live system. So if, for example, there were another camera here, I would be able to then select, you know, that other camera, and you'd see that change here on the display. But, you know, here's where you can, you know, move the camera around, do presets, things like that. It's controlling the Easy IP mixer. The Easy IP mixer itself is down in the storage compartment of the forum stand. So you just slide this sideways. We first off have a key that, you know, everything is connected to. It's powering everything, again, with that synergy with how Luxel works great with Easy IP. One of the things I forgot to mention about the 1208P when we were looking at it over in the rack is that it is a fanless piece, along with the unmanaged switches. All of those three are fanless, so it does make it great to put in things like this because it's so quiet. Yeah, it runs great. This is a 2 RU of storage, so it's hard to see from there, but behind here is the actual Easy IP mixer, along with like the little half rack blank that comes with it, so that both of these 2 RU pieces here are mounted here in the bottom of the display stand. Just keep in mind, again, with the forum display that, you know, everything slides out this way. The drawers don't come out. There's no option for them to like open from the front. So, you know, if you're mounting this near a wall, you know, you may lock off the ability to open one of these drawers all the way. The Easy IP mixer, again, you know, the one that's running live down there, you know, it can accept up to 4 cameras as part of the Easy IP infrastructure, 1 to 4. Obviously, you're going to have 2 on site, as well as an additional HDMI input. you know, the ability to switch between all of those, and then accepts Dante audio as well. We are going to also have an AV Bridge 2x1 over here. This is separate from the EasyIP system, but it would be able to do, you know, switching like the EasyIP similarly. It's just going to be a 2 input, and it's going to be 2 HDMI ins. This is a really good thing to sell in classroom applications. A lot of the times they want to have an instructor camera and a student camera that they switch between. Just really simplified and easy. So that's over here for you to talk about. Right over from the forum, we do have some of the Middle Atlantic pieces here and some of our forward mounting device accessories. For example, this is just part of like the BGR, you know, full rack, just showing some of the pieces here for, you know, cable mounting, mostly the forward stuff, so that you can just kind of show how easy it is to have toolless mounting, things like that, things to get your rack installer in and out much faster. And, you know, aside from, you know, showing off some of the accessories and things here, we are also listing some of the pieces that are forward compatible on this display graphic here. A lot of the things here, aside from, you know, showing off some of the forward devices and things, it's also a lot of Middle Atlantic pieces that just fit here in the trailer. So we are showing the other colorway of the forum stand. We have the freestanding model here, obviously, because we need to move it around, but we're also showing the wall mounted option, as well as the tables that can come with, coordinate with the forum collaboration suite. And then also some of the C3 pieces that we are going to be moving on to in a second here. Right up in kind of the center ceiling area of the trailer, we are showing off some of our Vadio Dante ceiling microphones. You know, these would connect to the EasyIP system or the AV Bridge 2x1 that we were showing earlier. We do also have a Dante table mic version, but the ceiling mics are going to be the only ones that are in here. They are visually indistinguishable from our other ceiling mics, so if you for any reason need to talk about you know, the analog ceiling microphone, this visually exactly the same. But you know, a nice thing about our Dante ceiling mics, you know, aside from going to our you know, Dante compatible devices, you know, Dante is just a standard, so you can sell our Dante microphones into systems that do not contain any other Vadio devices. Like you know, somebody might have a biamp you know, Dante DSP, and our microphones can connect, you know, to that network switch and be routed through that DSP. So they are not requiring any other Vadio products for you to have to sell these. They are just a nice thing to put in places if you've got someone who wants a nice, affordable Dante microphone. Aside from that, we've also got a couple of other things over here to show off. We have a Middle Atlantic C3 credenza. We have, you know, the Fusion mount accessory here for the display. And then we also have the new Vadio IntelliShot camera with a live video feed here on the screen of the actual IntelliShot moving. So the IntelliShot is an auto framing camera. A lot of people might just use the words auto tracking and auto framing kind of simultaneously, but they are slightly different things. As you can see, this camera doesn't really pan or tilt. What it's doing is it has up here, there's a 4K sensor taking in just a large part, and then the you know, intelligence inside the top on the board really is auto framing that down to 1080p. So while I do say that this is a 4K sensor, you shouldn't think of it as a 4K camera. It is a 1080p output camera. All of its outputs are going to be 1080p, but it's using that kind of smaller picture within the larger image that it's grabbing in order to smartly frame the points of interest in the video of where it's detecting motion. And that is entirely programmable up and the web interface that comes with the camera. You can set how fast it moves from points of interest to points of interest. You can block off things so that if there's, example, a door in frame and somebody might come through that the system will always ignore that and not move over to the door just because someone went through it, which is not how you want the camera to run, etc., etc. We are also showing off another Vadio device controller over here. The Vadio device controllers, I didn't really mention it when we were talking about the other one, but you basically just pair it with whichever Vadio device you would like to pair it to. So it's a really great add-on for tons of different pieces of Vadio equipment. It's pretty affordable. And the other thing is that it can run simultaneously with other control products. So if you have somebody who's putting in like a Crestron or Extron touch panel or control system, you can also put in a Vadio device controller if you would like. Those systems won't conflict in any way. So it's just a nice little add-on. I'm pretty much at it as an option for almost all of my designs, just because it's a nice little thing for the customer to consider. Back to the pieces here for the C3 credenza. It's available in either 1 to 4 banks, as we saw on our drawing here on the wall. It comes in many different finishes. And then it does also come in 2 different heights, and with or without the Fusion screen mount accessory. The insides, this might be another thing that you have to go get a key for, by the way, but that'll be over in the drawer. The insides are really customizable. You have the ability to put in things like trash cans or shelves or rack mount stuff. Notice because it is thinner, in order to try to be ADA compliant, you do need to mount the units buttons up, kind of like you do with the Forum device. Over here we've got a couple more chief things to talk about, and then one Vadio product. Up at the top here we are showing our direct view mounting tiled solution, TILED, very witty. I love that product name. So this is the thing to mount those direct view LED panels. It is kind of panel agnostic. It's not custom part numbers for all the different kinds of panels. It makes it very easy for customers to order, instead of getting a custom mount solution, which can add an even longer lead time to already slightly long lead times on shipping everything nowadays. So this makes it very convenient for a customer to get a solution. It is also really intuitive for someone who's installing it. You kind of get in and out really quick. There are things like depth adjustments for non-square walls, which wall is ever square. You can also do things like corner lock-in, where once you have a corner exactly right, you can adjust the rest of them and that corner will stay in place. Aside from the tiled solution here, we do also offer install services with select partners. If like I said, it is easy to install, but if you have somebody who still doesn't want to do that, we can coordinate with installation partners to get that done for somebody. Aside from that, we also are showing off the proximity in-wall box behind it. We are showing that with lever lock, forward compatible trays here. The PAC series having been renamed to Proximity, so it's a Proximity in-wall box. And then down below here we have a monster TV mounted on a Fusion mount. We are showing off our other kind of new Vadio EPTZ electronic pan tilt zoom camera, which is our conference shot EPTZ. So kind of the difference between the conference shot EPTZ and the IntelliShot is really, realistically, it's the field of view and the depth of field. So the IntelliShot is meant to be mounted a little bit farther away from the subjects. That camera does have a 30 times zoom. This one is a much wider field of view, and it's definitely more for like a little bit of a huddle application. You might notice that the screen here is not showing live video, unfortunately, to give you a compare here, but it is showing kind of it here nicely above a TV. One thing to note that I suppose I forgot to mention on the IntelliShots is that both of these cameras do have onboard microphones up here by the camera head. So those will pick up about 12 feet away from the camera is kind of realistically as far as you want to go out if you're going to be using the microphone that is on board the camera. There are other audio connectors on the camera if you do need to hook up like a separate audio DSP system or something like that for, you know, more than just single pickup or, you know, for farther than that 12-foot limit. But this one I find works really well with its onboard microphone, again, because you are meant to be much closer to the camera in this kind of an installation. And then the other thing that we're showing off here is we have a Fusion pull-out accessory. This is the reworked version of it back here. So push that in and slide it out. Just a thing to note, we have a bright sign down here, and that's the thing that's providing the video on this screen. But there's not a super long power cord on that, so don't yank this all the way out, or that bright sign's going to need to reboot. So be gentle when you pull out the Fusion accessory. The nice thing about the Fusion accessory is that the original model did kind of need to come out in this direction, but the new one can be mounted kind of any way, so you could have it coming out from below a screen because it locks up. So a lot more versatile than the original design. Over in this corner, we have these screens are going to look different when you're out here. So up here, because we can't really drill into the ceiling of this Roadshow van, we can't really install the RoboFlip camera, so this is going to be playing a video. It's a still frame right now because, you know, we were taking all the pictures of the inside of the trailer, but it's going to be a video showing you the RoboFlip camera, showing it moving, things like that. The RoboFlip camera is awesome. I do kind of wish we could show it in person because it is just really fun and neat to look at, but the video is going to do a great job. You know, the cool thing, one of the many cool things about the RoboFlip is that, I mean, it does flip away. You know, one of the big concerns sometimes when you put a camera in the room is that they really definitely want to know that someone's being filmed or not being filmed. And, you know, we do have customers who maybe don't trust that the light off on a camera means that it's not capturing you. The RoboFlip, it's very easy to tell because the camera's looking at the ceiling. It literally couldn't capture you when it's flipped away. It's also really popular with architects. And then the other thing that's really fun is whenever a customer's thinking of maybe getting like the DocCam 20 HDBT camera, I like to have a moment where we talk about, you know, maybe a RoboFlip is more appropriate in that kind of an application, because the DocCam, lovely camera, but the thing about it is that it only zooms. So you get the benefits of simplified controls because all you need to do is zoom in and out. But if you're going to have a spot where, you know, someone may not be exactly centered underneath the camera every time, the RoboFlip is nice because it does have that pan and tilt ability where you could reframe the shot just much more easily than having to cart everything over to the center of where the DocCam is. You know, it really depends on the application, but another thing that I like to do with the RoboFlip is I do think that the Vadio device controller is a really great accessory for that, simply because then they would have touch control nearby in order to reframe that shot if they're going to be moving stuff around in kind of an unpredictable manner. So that's another great spot for an add-on. This screen that is, you know, currently showing a still image is going to be showing a live link to the rack link. You know, showing the interface, showing all the different things that you can monitor and things like that. It's going to be of the Premium Plus PDU, which is down underneath your key and remote drawer. So that's down here You know, showing things off like, you know, hey, here's the temperature, here are the connected devices, you know, the ability to reboot things remotely, all the really cool stuff that really gives the rack link that extra edge for, I mean, do you really want to travel all the way to that other building across campus, or do you just want to log in and do a bunch of stuff from your rack link user interface? So back in this corner, again, we're back by the daylight screens again above your little drawer with the remotes. And we're showing off two different daylight models right now. So the one that's out right now is the tensioned designer contour electrol. It's got the agility battery motor. So, you know, the nice thing about the motor is that you don't need an electrician to help you install this, because you don't need to, you know, locate a power outlet. It doesn't need to connect to anything. There's an onboard battery. The battery is also rechargeable. There is a USB cable, comes out the side here, or there's also like a knockout for it to come out the back. And the screen itself is able to do like 200, you know, drops up and down before it needs to be recharged. So it is really convenient to put in places where you'd have difficulty connecting power, or you just can't schedule an electrician in, or etc. It does come in like a non-tensioned version, but I mean, obviously we want them to buy the tensioned one because they're just gonna have a better time. So forget I said that even. The other one that remotes. This one's the white remote. So if you want to control it, this one's going to be paired to this white remote. The other option that we've got is this black remote one here. So this model is the Sightline. It's another tensioned advantage screen with Sightline. And obviously, the nice thing about this is, you know, no obstruction here. So, you know, as somebody who really likes audio products, it's nice to be able to put a camera above the screen and not have it blocked by the black drop. You don't have to worry about locating the camera off center to the side of the screen, and, you know, something can just go right up there for an audience shot, or, you know, whatever. The other thing that's really nice about it is that you don't need to know the exact black drop when you're, you know, designing this for it, because you do have some nice wiggle room in how long this is. Basically about 6 feet of wiggle room on your, you know, wire black drop piece here. And then the other thing that's really nice about it, it's hard to tell because there's some noises here in the warehouse, so I don't know if this is going to pick up on the video, but it is very quiet. So nice and quiet on the screen there. Then also in the corner, we are going to have this tablet here, and when you're out there, it is going to be showing off the daylight screen surface selection calculator. So it's going to be, you know, the tool that is on our website. So, you know, you can always tell customers how to get to it on the website as well. But, you know, it's a nice way to talk about some of the different surface options that are going to be available on the daylight screens. Okay, for our last section of the trailer, we've got this C2G wall just to the right of the daylight screens. Oop, battery pack. At the top here, we've got AV over IP. This is, you know, kind of the scalable solution of, you know, hey, maybe I've got one output and I want to bring that to just tons of different locations. You know, instead of getting a distribution amplifier and then a bunch of different extension pieces, AV over IP is a scalable solution for something like that. There are a couple of different pieces, you know, transmitters, receivers, there's the controller. We do have a bunch of these in stock, so if you have a suitable application, talk this up to somebody. Down at the bottom here, we do also have, very popular, obviously, our distribution amplifiers. You know, one input in duplicates to two outputs, so also called splitters. And then, you know, our switches, most of them come with a remote, but the ability to, you know, take multiple inputs in and have multiple inputs out. This one's our 4x2, so 4 inputs in, 2 inputs out, and, you know, selectable on the remote or from the front. Honestly, this this second part here is my favorite. I like the stuff over here a lot. The HD-based T solutions, we're only really showing 2. There's a lot in this family. A lot of the new and revamped HD-based T things from C2G are, get 2 thumbs up from me here. We are showing a wall plate version and a box mount version, but there are a bunch of different configurations, double box, different wall plates, things like that. One of the really cool things about a lot of the HD-based T options that we're offering right now is that a lot of them are able to be powered from either end, which means, one of these pieces can live in a rack and another one can be, remotely behind a display, and, you really only need to locate, power for the display and, maybe a camera or something at the location, but this piece here, might not need to be powered depending on, what's convenient for you, what's available for your install, but it does make that very flexible and really cool. And then there is just a pretty basic, if you just need HDMI, the basic just HDMI box-to-box system is very affordable. So, and then down here we're showing off our performance series of HDMI cables, which is kind of pretty much the only thing I spec anymore, just because it really checks tons of boxes for your install. It's got really lovely gripping firm connectors so that things stay in. It's got this kind of dotted ridged shell on the outside, so it's easy to actually grab and pull if you do need to disconnect itself, but equipment that's moving around or wiggling or things will stay nice and seated because of the connector thing here. They are very flexible. They are rated for in-wall. They're just really cool. And they're affordable, and we have a ton of them in stock a lot of the time. So sell the cables, you guys. And then I guess lastly, I just have to say, have fun. You guys are going to be outdoors, so stay warm and enjoy the roadshow.